All right. Just a heads up that I'll have to leave in 30 minutes. That shouldn't prevent you from doing anything, but just a heads up. All right. Let's take a look at the previous week. Skarbek, tell us a bit about how your week went there.
My week went slowly. I'm just simply not a developer, so it took some time to get some work done inside of the release tools. I paired with both Alessio and Myra throughout the week, but I do have a merge request, and it's currently assigned to another one of our team members for review. I started investigating the necessary work to create what I'm going to call currently an unstable location where we could store charts. That way we could create a place where we don't hopefully bleed over stuff that we don't want consumers to consume for their home charts. So I started that work late yesterday, so I'm hoping to continue that today and figure out what needs to be done. And hopefully I have a plan of action to start next week off nice and fresh and get it going.
Awesome. Jar finished staging work. Obviously, we are having a demo about that, so that's done. GKMS source of truth.
Large discussion on that issue. If anyone has any more comments or opinions, please provide.
I think we should time box the discussion because we just need to get going with this. And to me, it seems like we need to have something that we're gonna be able to do in a few weeks, not a few months.
I agree.
I personally like Skarbek's pipeline approach the best so far, but I mean, I can maybe by Monday we can at least each have our votes on what to do and just go forward with it.
Cool. Let's discuss that in the discussion item. I pointed to Graham's comment in there.
Sure.
All right, and the last one I don't even remember what
these are just there's some database defaults that we this is fine. We're doing this through issues. Just we need to change some of the Helm defaults and make some things configurable that aren't configurable right now, but it doesn't block us from at least testing on staging. So it's not a big deal for now.
Cool.
Great.
All right. Let's get started with them.
Export on staging. So I'll share my screen. So I think I already showed this configuration in the last meeting since we had it, but I'll show it again, which is how we are configuring sidekiq and k8s workloads. I'm going to pull up the k8s workloads group, go to gitlab.com, and if we go to the environment configuration file, we see that sidekiq is enabled here, and we're using this image tag. It's a bit old, but it checks out. It's fine. I did a quick validation today that we don't need to build a new image. Building new images are kind of a pain right now, so I'm just going to use the same image, which was on the deploy branch from last week. The rest of the configuration is in the common values file here. This is the common config for all environments. So these are the things like, okay, the secret for the Postgres database, the secret for Redis. I think, trying to remember what else there is. Of course, we have the queue configuration for sidekiq, like the cron jobs, all of that. You can see here that for sidekiq, we have sidekiq. By default, it's not enabled. Metrics are enabled here, and then here are the pod. We have one for export, and we also have some limits set on the pod. So that's what we have right now. This is what we're testing against, and this is the configuration that we believe is going to be common for all environments, including production. So the next thing is to enable project export in Kubernetes on staging. to do that, I'll just I'm on the console server, which is the server you need to be SSH2 in order to do kubectl. So if I get the pods in the staging cluster, you can see we have mailroom and we have 2 registry pods. We don't have sidekiq. I can do kubectl get deployments. And we do have the deployment, it's just that it's not ready. And this is basically after we apply that configuration to staging, it created the deployment, it created the pod. And for now, the way that we're not keeping it on all the time is by scaling down the deployment to 0. So in order to bring this pod back to life, all we need to do is scale it. Hopefully this works. There it goes. So you can see now we have 1, and it's going to scale up to 1 as soon as the pod comes online. So it's in the init. The initialization for the sidekiq pod, it takes a long time. The init containers take a while. The init containers are actually doing a full check of, for example, like connecting to the database, so it's bringing up Rails, and that takes a long time. I think there was a discussion about making that a little bit more efficient. Is that correct, Skarbek? I think there was a note about making this a little bit faster, right?
I opened an issue in the charts repo to start a discussion with the distribution team to see what options we have to make this quicker. It goes as far as loading the entire Rails application and checking the schema version to make sure it's at a legit state that it's expecting to be in. So I don't think sidekiq should rely on this type of thing. I think that should be reserved for like some other container that starts it before the rest of the application does. But yes, there's an issue somewhere. I'll try to link it in here just so that we have it logged.
And when you say it takes a long time, ballpark figure?
Maybe like 2 minutes.
Ooh, that is a long time.
We can write a script that can do this in sub-second time.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of one select on the schema version and reading the DB schema.
Yeah.
So if they want to have it, we can rewrite this.
And will that handle like multiple concurrent versions of GitLab, Canary and production running alongside one another with different schema versions?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not sure exactly what validation we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Because obviously that's something just to be aware of. Like we don't want to kind of upgrade Canary and then production refuses to start, because that would be a very bad.
Well, yeah, I guess we'd run migrations first, and then pods wouldn't be able to come up because like the schema version would be different. That would be bad. I don't know exactly what the comparison is for schema version is. It's not. I don't know. Like, but it.
In comparison, just like if the number is higher, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I hope so, but I don't know for sure. The next thing I'm going to do is go to the VM, and I'm just going to shut down sidekiq on the VM. I'm on staging. Oh. So I couldn't remember why we have Puma enabled on the export VM. I don't think we need unicorn/Puma on the export. But we do run unicorn/Puma on all of the sidekiq nodes. And I don't remember off the top of my head right now.
I thought that there's places where we basically go to like a local host and make queries.
Wait, what?
No, I mean, I know that we do this on Git.
That's historically, it's been that way. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's like that still.
Well, anyway.
It wasn't the one I remember, maybe someone can remember, like, it wasn't even going through Workhorse. It was like literally going straight to Unicorn.
Yeah, you're thinking of Git.
Git does
delete.
that, yeah, which is horrible.
I don't remember. Yeah, that is horrible. I don't know why this is horrible, but there probably is a reason that it's horrible. I just don't know what it is. But anyway, for export, I don't think it matters.
This is new information for me. Like, do we need to investigate something
We
prior
need
to
to
trying to
investigate
migrate
this.
over?
Well,
to investigate this and try to understand what is happening before we decide that we are not going to touch it.
Well, I guess I'll say right off the bat that we don't have unicorn/puma running in the pod, and it's working. So I think if there is a reason, I assume that it's for a different sidekiq, not for export. But yeah, we need to investigate it.
So I guess we are going to run into that bomb when we go through the other queues. Okay.
It's very easy to, surely we will get structured logs on the unicorn or workhorse instances on a side. So first of all, do we scrape unicorn and workhorse logs on the sidekiq boxes at the moment?
Yes, yes, we do. I think so. Yeah, that'd be the best. Yeah. Okay, but in the meantime, let's just stop everything on staging here for export. You can see that we have the pod, it's running now. And now I'm going to do a project export. On preprod. So let's go to test project, settings, general. Could also just do this over the API, but I'll do it to the UI.
Bad news is that if you search for Rails logs type equals sidekiq, there's a lot of traffic.
Oh boy. Well, okay, you can see that the project is exported here. Instead of showing you the logs directly from kubectl, I'm going to show them to you in Stackdriver first. So just to kind of give you an idea. And I also wanted to show the logging work that was done recently. So if we go to the log viewer and we use an advanced filter and we just do this, which is basically saying, I only want log messages that have a cluster name in it, which is my way of narrowing it down to just GKE related logs. So that seems like the best way to do it. And then for the log name sidekiq, we can see here that these are the logs from the pod. You can open it up here. You can see like here's the pod name, namespace. Now what you may notice that's missing is that we don't have any structured logging. There's an issue open for that when we do the next update of charts, we'll be able to enable JSON logs. What we're thinking currently is the way that we're going to get these logs into Elasticsearch is that we will use log syncs. That's what we're doing now. We have all of the logs going to a single index for like a GKE index on Elasticsearch. And this is not going to work long term because we're just going to be adding more and more logs. So my current thought is that we will, based on the log name, we'll just forward these logs to specific pub/sub topics, which will then in turn send them to specific Elasticsearch indexes. I can show you that in respect to like the next thing on the demo. So the way that I've restructured the syncs a bit, and I have a Terraform MR for this. It's not yet merged. It needs to be reviewed still, but I don't think this will change if it works okay. Like before, we have, so what you do is you provide Terraform just a array of log file names, In this case, we just provided an array of Nginx and sidekiq, and then Terraform makes these 3 sinks. The first one is the default sink, which if we view the filter, it's basically creating a filter for all logs that aren't in the list. And this will be the catch-all for logs. And so by default, all of our GKE logs will go to the existing GKE pub/sub topic and go to the GKE index on Elasticsearch. And then we have individual application logs. For example, for sidekiq, if I look at this filter, it's just looking for any log that looks like a GKE log message, and the log name is sidekiq. And the idea here is that once we have structured logging, we'll have all of both sidekiq logs from VMs and sidekiq logs from GKE going into the same index. And I think that's a good thing to do. The other way we could do this is like we could create unique indexes for all of the different components, but I think it's probably better to put them both in the same.
Jar, I have a question. We enabled the sidekiq exporter on staging, but we are running the demo on pre. Is this intentional?
Oh, I'm showing you this on pre-prod, but I meant to show you on staging.
Yeah, because
sorry.
you're the expert on pre-prod.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was thinking of my login stuff, which I did on pre-prod, but you're right. Let's do the same.
You made the export on pre, so that's why there's no jobs here, I think.
Oh, right. Yes, thank you. Ugh.
Welcome.
I have the same like test project everywhere, so it's really confusing. All right, let's do it again.
What did you say about putting release tools on the same path on .com and ops, Jar, again?
I don't know, man. Like, there is a
obligatory poke.
It.
Obligatory poke, Jar, nothing else.
Yeah. Here we go. So here it is on staging. So same again, what I described before on pre-prod, which I did export earlier, so that's why we had the log message. But you know, now that we exported again on staging, we see it here, and yeah, nothing. Basically, it's exactly the same. We don't have structured logs. I don't have these log syncs configured yet on staging because I'm testing that out on pre-prod, but yeah. Is there anything else anyone would like to see?
The only thing I would want to see or understand a bit better is how could we test this better. So scale up the deployment to, let's say, I don't know, 10 pods, and then do a fleet of exports somehow to see like how this actually works in parallel.
Yeah, also considering that it takes minutes to boot, so the spin up time is really terrible.
Yeah, I think we can just probably, you know, hammer the API with export requests. Maybe we can just do this. I mean, there's no reason why we can't just do this on staging, or do this on pre-prod as well, just to get started. And we have a issue open for load testing, so maybe this is something that we can start on and do a demo next week.
Maybe also if we have some big repo to export, so that we can see if the exporting itself takes longer, how the request piles up and how it scales.
Yeah. Yeah, this is always tricky to find a good, I mean, other than we can use GitLab as an example. We have to be careful because of secrets and things like that. I think there's the GitLab HQ like that we use for testing that has some of the secrets scrubbed. So
we can fork GitLab. If you fork it, there should be no secrets.
We could fork GitLab, but you also want to have like all the issues and everything too. I mean, like having a large number of issues is also.
Yeah, but do we have the issues on staging?
I don't think staging is actually a scrubbed version of the project.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, but it might have like confidential issues from when it was cloned.
Why is that the problem for testing again?
Not really a problem, except we just need to be mindful and careful if we're going to test with it, that it contains a lot of confidential information. But yeah, I guess, you know, for the purpose of just doing a one-off test, then maybe this is the way to go.
Yeah, because I don't think this is going to be a one-off test, Jar. That's the main issue, right? Like I would like us to like test this on staging, not extensively, but sufficiently. And then prior to going well, no, actually, when going to prod as well, just seeing how we can do that in prod and what kind of impact it has.
Yeah.
And there is something to be said about like testing some of the edge cases. Like, for example, we scale the deployment up manually and fire off and see what happens, or we just hit all the limits that we set and see how the deployment scales itself up. So a couple of things like that might be interesting to poke for. And that would be good to do for next week if possible. Nothing super fancy, like just script that fires this off.
Yeah, it would be good to do. Okay, well let's bring in the load testing issue then for next week, and I think I'll have time to work on that.
Wait, you have time? I'm not giving you enough work.
I can make time. I will make time to work on it. How's that? Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm happy we are even at this stage right now, so we can start some proper testing. Cool. I think we can move to some of the discussion points. It's also great that we only have 7 minutes from my side, at least, so I can disconnect after 7 minutes and leave you to pick up pieces. I want to discuss Graham's comment because I think it's actually pointing to something that is also concerning to me, has been since we started this project, and that is that we might be drifting too far off with how we do things compared to how the product is doing things and how the whole ecosystem is developing. And we are basically just inventing a new thing, not inventing a new thing, but building a new tool to do the same thing. So what would be, the question is, what would be our final line when it comes to building out k8s workloads and KCTL, where we would say, okay, now is the time where we need to actually stop and rethink our strategy and port the workload to something different?
I think now is the time. I think it's clear that we need some solution to generate a succinct configuration across both of our hybrid infrastructure configurations. And, you know, we're going to induce an outage at some point if we don't handle that today.
Jarv, what do you think?
Yeah, I think now is the time, but I don't want a false start with this. So I want to be sure that we can, whatever solution we pick, we can execute within a few weeks and not a few months. So.
Oh no, a few months is not an option here. It is either going to be in parallel so that we can port things over as we go along, or it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like we don't have the months to redo the same thing over again and wait for the you know, Kubernetes community to think of something new that they will pop up in the next month after the next KubeCon or something, you know.
Yeah.
So should we consider maybe roping in Graham and seeing whether he can, I don't know how, I'll talk with his manager, but seeing whether he can do a POC and do a POC that would replace one item from the list that we select here, and see how much time it would take, and say like, we need a POC in like a week. We can offer our help to like sit down and prototype rapidly. So if that means like every day we prototype together, great. And see whether this will take us in the direction that we expect it to take us. And then port things over one by one as we need it, rather than do a multi-month project. I'm not interested in that whatsoever. We have our multi-month projects already.
Yeah, I haven't really looked into using Helm. Scarbeck, I don't know if you've looked into this, whether, I didn't think that Helm really dealt with secrets at all. And I guess there's a plugin for letting Helm also manage secrets. Is this something that we want to use Helm for? What we don't want to do, obviously, is like put secrets. We need to store secrets encrypted, and we want to use Kubernetes secrets for now if we're not going to put them in vault.
And on top of that, we need a single source of truth for secrets. So there's a couple of facets to this that we need to keep track of. And one of the things that I like about Graham's position in this is that he's trying to push us towards a solution that would be succinct, that we could carry throughout all of our clusters throughout time. The problem that I have with that is it doesn't clearly address how we're going to ping our single source of truth, wherever that may be, whether it be a configuration item or a secret, and pull that in appropriately. Helm file looks on the surface to be a great place to start, but it'll take a little bit of time. And I think Marin's idea of grabbing him and borrowing some of his time to put together a POC is an excellent idea to see if that's a great way to go.
So, Scarbeck, how about writing up that requirement, right? Like you want to figure that one out. We don't need to replace the things that are already working. We need to solve this problem. And if this problem can be solved with Helm file, we can talk about porting the other things that we currently have over a period of time. So maybe write up a spec, so to speak, what is expected. And then we can do it that way, set the expectations, and I can speak with his manager to see how much time we have to do this. Because I understand and I agree with what he says in general, and I also agree with, you know, Flux CD and a bunch of other things that are doing these great things that popped up and are developing quickly. But it's two of you doing this full time with Alessio helping here and there. And if that means that we want to move in this direction, I want to ask for more people then. And if I get no, then it means we can't do it. We can do with what we have, basically. So that's basically a requirement from my side. So you write up what is needed, what is expected. Can this tool get the thing done? If yes, go to a quick POC to see how can we plug this in, and only then we can see like whether it even makes sense to look into all the details of what this tool can do compared to what our tool can do at the moment. If we can do this with Helm file, great, because then we can port it over and use what GitLab product has moved to for our integration as well. I need to drop out. Thanks everyone for a great discussion one more time, and feel free to continue your discussion here.
Cool. I don't think there's really anything left on the agenda. Does anyone else have anything?
I think the only thing I want to comment on is that all the stuff that we've discussed, I dropped in the issues at the end of the agenda. That way they're accessible for what we've talked about today. I don't think I've got anything else I want to ask or bring to the table.
Let's just quickly go over next week's goals. So demo for load testing on pre or staging. Are there any goals around the, the versioning work?
Yeah, I want to try to get auto deploy in a workable state. I don't know if I'll be able to accomplish that in 1 week, however. But I plan on continuing that work specifically. We should try to finish up the database defaults. I think I left a comment, so we should try to follow up with each other and knock that out just to close out that issue. If there's any more work that needs to be accomplished with it.
I'll take that.
And then hopefully by the end of next week, we'll have a proposal written up so we know precisely what we want to accomplish with a single source of truth. How about that? Whether that be a proposal for a POC and hopefully we could get Graham involved, or if it's just let's try to accomplish this at some point in time, and maybe that's the next thing we grab after moving to production potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in and say that this is all incredibly interesting stuff. I'm a federal TAM, so I don't really have any customers on .com, but the Kubernetes adoption is coming up. So seeing how the professionals are doing it is good stuff.
Cool. Thanks for joining. Yeah, that's why we added this to the team calendar for anyone to join. So if you know of anyone else who wants to pop in for the next one, feel free to let them know.
Yeah, surely.
I feel like a lot of the work that we're trying to accomplish, especially with a single source of truth, is probably going to be helpful for anyone that's running a hybrid infrastructure. So like the scalability group, like that some of us are participating in, this will be tremendously useful in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just looking at the epic here, we have the new issue about Puma Unicorn. That's probably pretty low priority for now. Database configuration audit, I'll take that. Load test, I also said I would take. There are a couple open issues here, but most of them are just waiting for charts. So like enable JSON logging is done. The sidekiq logs from GKE pods are entered into a new index. I have the MRs out for that, so that's in good shape, I think. The network policy work is we're just waiting for a charts update, so it's, I think, maybe, I don't know, maybe we should update charts for next week, Skarbek?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's get that done.
Okay.
I think we just got one thing that we need to handle with that, but yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I think the production deployment can wait for now.
Certainly.
And then the readiness review, I haven't seen any feedback yet. Have you gotten any?
Yeah, Alejandro and Craig and someone else chimed in. So we've got some feedback coming in, but it's mostly people chiming in on typos and grammatical errors so far. Not very helpful.
Okay, okay. Well, maybe we should set a deadline for next week for people to finish.
I'll ping whoever's still assigned to it at the end of my day today. What I'll do is ping them and just remind them if they haven't left anything so far.
Okay, so I'll put readiness.
Hopefully we could close that out next week.
Complete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's it. So if there's nothing else, see you guys later.
Thank you, Jarv.
Ciao.
Bye.